Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tamara of Tamara Fashion Style, and today in this video I'm going to show you how to sew a plain seam. Because sometimes we may be sewing our garments together, and then when we do look, the seams are not lined up. It's either it long and short, or it's either one pulling the other. Now to get this plain seam perfect, I'm going to show you how to do it. So if this is your first time here, please subscribe to my channel. Please share my channel so that others could benefit from it. And please hit that notification bell so that you guys won't miss any video from me. So, if you want to see how to sew a plain neat seam, stay tuned and let's get started. Now, for sew this plain seam, we're going to need some items. So, we have some notion on this table layout, which is a ruler. You're going to need a ruler. Right, you're going to need a ruler. You're going to need something to mark your fabric. You're going to need scissors. You're going to need, I have this chalk to mark my fabric instead of this marker. This is just so in case you're not seeing properly with the chalk. And plus you're going to need a piece of fabric. Now you can cut out your fabric how much ever width and length you want, right? So I'm going to move this aside, this ruler aside. I'm going to move this piece of fabric, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out a piece of fabric, right? How much ever you want to cut it out, that's up to you. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out a piece of fabric, and I'm going to cut out this fabric. First of all, I'm going to take the measurement from here. So I'm going to measure 16 centimeter, 15 centimeter, sorry. I'm going to measure 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter. Now, if you're working in inches, you can measure like 6 inches by 6 inches piece, all right? And you can cut that out, okay? So I'm going to measure 15 by 15. By 15 centimeter. You could measure 6 inches by 6 inches. Right? And cut. So this is my square that I have here. So I'm going to cut this square out. So I'm going to cut this out to get to use this square here. So this is a 15 centimeter by 15 centimeters. So I'm going to put this away. And this is what my fabric look like. Alright, this is what my fabric look like. So I have a not too straight end, so I'll cut this off. Right, so this is what your fabric will look like. So you have two pieces. Right, so this is the two pieces. Now I'll mark the wrong side of my fabric. So this is the wrong side of my fabric here. Right, now to get this seam straight, because sometimes you may be sewing a seam, right? And then sometimes when you look, it's longer than the other, like this. It will sometimes when you raise the bottom up, the fabric is like this, right? It's one shorter than the other, or sometimes it might be like this when you're sewing, like this way, right? Now to get the ends even, like that. First thing what I do, this is just my method. They have other method you can use, right? But this is just my method. So what I would do, I would line up my fabric properly. I would line up my fabric. And then I would get the overlocker and overlock it. So let's do that now. So you get your two pieces of fabric and you put it right side together. So you see this is my wrong side. This is my wrong side. So the two side would be the two right side would be facing each other. Alright, so you're gonna line it up. You're gonna get your overlocker, which I have here. Right, I have my overlocker here, and I'm going to overlock this two fabric. So I'll turn my overlocker on, and you can overlock any side you want. Just make sure it's straight, and you put your and you put it under the overlocker like that, and I'm gonna overlock the edge of my fabric. So and keep the end straight. And then I cut my fabric out of the overlocker. So when I do that, the scissors done. So when I do that, I finish, turn off my overlocker. Always turn off the overlocker. Alright? So when I done finish do that, this is what my fabric look like. Okay? This is what the fabric will look like. So neaten up your thread. So you know that when you sew this, if you sew in to leave the side open or whatever they do for the zipper, make sure you overlap the two single end, which I will show you just now. So this is what my fabric will look like. So I know that my fabric is even. So when I'm ready to sew it, I don't have no problem. Now this would be a guideline for me for stitching my seams together. That's why I always overlap my fabric first, because it would give me a guideline and it would end up giving me a straight seam, which I will show you now. So now what for stitch this is the serging method, where you're knitting the end from frame, right? So what I would do, I would get my sewing machine now, and we would stitch these seams together, and then we would iron it. All right, good. So soon as you finish doing the overlocker, which is here, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna stitch it on our machine. Now if you want, what you can do is get your chalk ruler, right? You can get your chalk and your ruler, and what you can do, forget a safer guide, you can mark this like this. Put the marking at the edge of the stitch like that, right? So we put in the marking from this end, come back, right? So you're marking from here, right? From this end here, come back. So you can mark it like this, line up the overlocker thread stitch, right? You can line up the overlocker stitch, and we can mark it. Okay, you can mark it the 1 centimeter from the edge, or ½ inch from the edge of the overlocker, and you mark, and you can mark that. All right, so you end up with this line here. All right, so you end up with, this is the line you will stitch at, but I doesn't mark my own. What I do, I would line it up with a presser foot, like the presser foot here. Let me just pull the machine there, you see. So this is the edge of my presser foot right here, this edge right here. So I would line up this edge of the presser foot with this edge of this stitching line here. So let's go and do it. I'm gonna put my presser foot down. So from that edge to where the needle would be in the fabric would be a 1 centimeter seam. All right, so that's how I stitch my own. So I'm going to continue stitching, and you'd get a better, straighter stitch. The stitch would be very straight, right? Just keep the edge line up with the presser foot, and you would see what, when I'm finished, I will show you what I'm talking about. Back stitch, and we're going to release. So now I'm going to show you what it looks like. So this is what I'm talking about. You see how you get a nice straight stitch? That is what you want, right? Your stitch to be straight. So this is what this here should look like, right? So you get your seam and you line it up. There is if you're making, you don't want to press your seam open, you do it like this. You put it on the one side and you press it. So you have a neat finished seam. All right, so this is what your seam would look like when you finish. When you're done, you iron out your fabric and you put your clothes together. All right, so this is what you would end up with this nice neat finish seam here. All right, so this is a 1 centimeter seam allowance. So there is one way of doing that. Now the other way of doing it, you have you serge the two ends separate. So let's say you serge these two ends separate here, right? These two separate ends, or you serge it, and you want to leave you want to press your seam open. So you're going to line up these ends here, and now we're going to sew this together as well. Right? The same process, go with it. We're lining it up with the presser foot. Alright? So I'm going to line up mine with the presser foot, and we're going to sew. Make sure your fabric hold tight together. You don't want it to come off. Alright? You don't want it to come off the seam. So we're going to sew together. Hold the two ends together. Make sure the two ends of the fabric together. You see my two ends together right here? See right here, my two ends together, neat and nice. Make sure your two ends together and keep it lined up with the presser foot. So you get a neat, clean finish. Back stitch, raise up, get your scissors, and we're gonna cut. Now we're going to remove this. You remove this. Cut that. And now you open this. And you're going to press this seam open. Alright? You're going to press this seam here open. So I have my iron here, which I'm gonna just pass it onto here. Alright, so you're gonna press this seam open. I'm gonna press that open. You see what a nice finish you get? This is a very nice finish. The next one that we do, you're gonna press it to the side first, and we're gonna open it. And we're going to press it to one side. Alright? I'm going to press this to one side. You're going to turn it over. And we're going to press this to the other side like this. Alright? So you get a neat finish. Alright? Put your iron back. So this is what your two seams would look like. Alright? So this is what your two seams would look like when you finish pressing them. Alright? One to the side and one open. So this is how you finish a seam, neat and nice. So you see I press it, you see you don't see no bulk or anything over here. The fabric is not lapping over the next one, because I finished the seam properly. Now this is my method in finishing my seam, and this worked properly for me. Right? So if this method, you like this method, you can go ahead and do it this way. Now what you can do is follow the same instruction that I gave and see how it works for you. See which one best suits you. Alright? So this is the finished seam in both what you would end up with. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you in my next video. Now I'll do it a lot of I'll be doing a lot of short clips for you guys to teach you guys how to sew seam and things like that. So you'll see a lot of more of these videos from me, and then we'll get into garments construction and so on like that. Let me just get these out of the way to show you my method of finishing seams and see how neat, show you how neat your clothing can look. All right, so this is my method of doing finishing seam. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and just don't forget, subscribe to my channel, share my channel, so that others could benefit as well, just as how you benefited. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, please hit that notification bell, and please leave some comment below. I'll see you and you enjoy. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.